4.3%. So it's only professional athletes out of work. So ain't no lawyers, no doctors, no finance majors, no econ majors, none of those. So only athletes are this unemployment. So y'all just miss me with that. Sometimes you go to school to try and you play a sport and you don't make it professional. Just like if you go to school and you try to be an engineer, a doctor, or a lawyer, you don't make it.
Okay. By the way, you realize there's no talking in the library. So how did you pull that?
Oh man, you crazy.
Or were they? You were allowed because you're a jock? You got to talk?
Skip, I whispered.
Oh.
You never whispered in your life.
And plus, they like Skip. I'm answering questions in class. They see me in class. I'm raising my hand. Everybody else sitting in the back trying to be cool. I sat in the front of the class, dressed to the T, creased jeans, dressed up, had me a sport coat and slacks on Friday. Like, oh, he going somewhere. I am. You want to go with me? Do you want to ride in this Mercedes, girl? Pebbles. I reversed it. Do you want to ride in my Mercedes, girl? Had a Mercedes.
Careful, we're going to have to pay for
it. Oh, my bad, Pebbles. I'm sorry. L.A., I'm sorry. L.A. Reid.
I got it. So the one issue I have with what Josh Rosen said is, even though there's, what did you say, a little truth?
Yes.
Some truth?
Yeah.
I don't love the stereotyping and generalizing because it doesn't always fit.
Right.
Because there are those players, black and white, who do go to school also.
Yes.
And there are some who are, they know themselves well enough to know that their odds of making it in pro football or pro basketball are not the greatest, so they maximize their educational opportunity, or they make sure they're going to go back and get their degree, which you can do.
Yes, that's what I did.
Okay, so let's not eliminate that group. I don't know what percent that is, but the Richard Shermans and the Doug Baldwins who went to Stanford, or let's do Jay Cutler at Vanderbilt, trust me, they went to class and they're all good students.
Very good.
And I'm sure Richard and Doug would tell you they really value their degree I think they both got their degree.
Yes,
they did.
They did.
Yeah. Okay, so in general, if I can generalize, I have always thought that there are a whole lot of college, especially football players, who choose to go to schools that they would never have attended without the football or the basketball team. Correct?
Correct.
I grew up a University of Oklahoma fan, and we would go recruit in San Diego and Florida and New York, and they would come to Norman, Oklahoma. I like Norman, but it's not, it's not Las Vegas, and I would say, why are they coming to Norman? They're coming for the mystique of this program and the NFL pipeline that this program can be. So would they choose to go to OU academically? It's a fine school. No. They just wouldn't, and that happens all around the country. So I do give you that. I'm also a little leery of that SAT point that he made because we have heard, and this isn't just about black kids, but some white kids just don't test well. So if you did raise the SAT, it could hurt a whole bunch of people. It could really...
Yeah, Alabama's not going to be the only one that got hurt.
Everybody across the board,
It's not just your SAT score anyway. They balance your SAT score with your grade point average.
Grade point average.
Okay. But if I can just speak about my personal situation. So I go to Vanderbilt.
Right.
And they don't have a journalism school. So I decide I want to write. So I got to write for the school paper or the local paper, the national paper. And it's all extracurricular. Well, trust me, it was like I was working a full-time job and trying to stay in school as a public school kid in a really difficult academic environment against a lot of private school kids.
Were you getting paid?
It was hard. Well, I got a full scholarship.
No, I'm saying, were they paying you for writing for the paper?
No. For the school paper or the Nashville paper?
Nashville paper.
Yeah. I mean...
Oh, you got money on the side, Skip?
$5.
You should have lost your eligibility.
I should.
Because that's what would have happened if an athlete...
I know. Well, that's true. That's a very fair point. So the point is, I made it because I didn't do a lot of partying because you got to do two things. You know, these are what matter. This is going to launch you into life, both your academics or your football.
Correct.
And so it's doable if you want to do it. He's saying it's like working 2 full-time jobs.
Right.
Okay? So then in the big picture, you just mentioned it, the biggest crime is that these kids are unpaid, especially the football and the basketball players, because they're making millions of dollars. That's what he's talking about for their schools and for the NCAA in general.
Because let's be real, Skip. There's really only 2 moneymakers at the institution. That's basketball and football.
Yeah.
They prop up all the other athletic.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay, so that's a crime to me.
Yes.
Yet the administrators argue, well, we sell to our boosters, our major donors, the fact this is pure amateurism, that these are, to reverse your term, these are real student athletes.
Okay.
They actually sit in the same classrooms that the alums sat in. Maybe.
They didn't go there because of them alums.
No, they did not. So I get the hypocrisy. That's the point of all this that I liked, because they're selling this sort of ivy-covered amateurism, and it's all baloney.
Oh, it's pie. It's pie in the sky. It's not even close.
It is.
But Skip, you know this. Every athlete you ask, no matter where, because here's the thing, Skip, no matter what level you play on, if you play Pop Warner, the JV, the varsity, you have aspirations of going higher. You play to advance. Nobody says, okay, this is as far as I want to do. I just want to play high school football, or I just want to play college football. Now, some might know they're not good enough to go to the next level, but that doesn't mean you don't aspire to be that. And so I'm looking at, and everybody at Alabama, all those guys at Alabama, you can't tell them all of them not going to play in the NFL. All those guys at Ohio State, you can't tell them, I'm going to be the guy, although we know it's not going to be the case. There's 100 guys at the University of Alabama and Ohio State. All 100 of them are not going to play professional football, but you can't tell them that. Just like all those people that's trying to get a law degree. You think you can tell them they're not going to be the next Alan Dershowitz or the Johnny Cochrans? Of course, they believe that, Skip. And if I'm a football player, and if I could have had the grades, I would have gone to a bigger school. Just like if you want to be an engineer, you're going to MIT, you're going to Georgia Tech. If you want to be a doctor, you're going to try to get into Harvard Medical School. That's just the way it works, Skip. We know this, but people want to make it seem like that only athletes have this, athletes. Everybody's not going to become a doctor. Everybody's not going to become a lawyer. They make it seem like only athletes go to college and play sports and don't get an opportunity to fulfill their dream of being a professional in their set and what they went to school in.
Yeah.
That's so ridiculous and false.
No, the athletics are harder to compare. You know, there's not hundreds of thousands of people showing up at games to cheer on doctors.
Yeah, and that's the thing. They're like, well, the teachers, they have the highest job. Well, when 85,000 show up to a lab class to hear you teach.
Right. Then it'll be a little different.
Yeah.
Joy was an athlete student, right?
Yeah, and my SAT score was terrible. But I had a really good, I'm not a good test taker.
Oh.
But
No,
I had
I
an almost perfect GPA, so it was fine.
Well, I didn't have no almost perfect GPA. I took one book home in high school, and the only reason I took that book home, the teacher said he was going to fail me if he checked my locker, and that book was not in there.
It hadn't even been creased.
What was your grandmother saying about your grades?
My grandma said, you passing. I told you I majored in eligibility. I was going to the next grade. I went from 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12.
You didn't get disciplined for your bad grades?
I did my chores. I played football. I didn't get no trouble. And then Savannah State, Skip, the party ended about 1 o'clock. By 12:50, they was going to get ready to play the bus stop. Hit the party. I put my clothes on. Hey, Joe, I be there asleep. They already know Shadow coming.
Go to parties.
They know I'm coming. But
Tiger Woods was left off the list as the greatest